As we come on the air tonight, tensions high in Minnesota as the DOJ is now reportedly investigating state and local leaders for alleged obstruction of law enforcement.
Hands off our bodies. That's what crowds chanted outside the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington on Tuesday in protest against the recent abortion ruling 3 weeks ago that overturned Roe v. Wade.
Protests continue to sweep across the United States for a second day after the Supreme Court there struck down the Roe v. Wade bill, which protected abortion rights.
In January 2026, something very important happened in the United States that directly affects ordinary people, especially those who protest, speak out, or gather in public. A federal judge issued a strong court order that limits how federal agents can act during protests. This decision came after months of tension, public anger, and legal complaints about how protesters were being handled in different parts of the country, especially in Minnesota. To understand why this matters, let's go step by step. Over the past year, the U.S. has seen a sharp rise in protests. According to public records, more than 4,000 protests were reported nationwide in 2025 alone. Many of them were about immigration, policing, wages, and government power. During several of these protests, federal agents were deployed alongside local police. By late 2025, civil rights groups filed multiple lawsuits. They claimed that federal agents were stopping people without clear reasons, using tear gas and batons without warnings, and arresting protesters who were peaceful. Some reports said people were detained for hours without being told why. Videos shared online showed chaos, confusion, and fear. These videos were viewed millions of times and caused national outrage. Because of this, a federal court stepped in. On January 16, 2026, a U.S. federal judge issued an injunction. An injunction is a legal order that tells the government to stop or limit certain actions immediately. This judge ruled that federal agents must follow stricter rules when dealing with protesters. The court order said federal agents cannot stop or detain protesters unless there is clear and specific evidence of a crime. Just being present at a protest is not enough. The judge also ordered that agents must clearly identify themselves. This means visible badges, agency names, and no more unmarked actions that confuse people. Another major part of the ruling focused on force. The judge stated that force should be the last option, not the first. Tear gas, rubber bullets, and physical force can only be used if there is an immediate and serious threat. Warnings must be given first, and people must be allowed time to leave the area. This is very important because earlier reports showed force being used within minutes of protests starting. The judge also mentioned the U.S. Constitution. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech and the right to peacefully assemble. The court said these rights are not optional and cannot be ignored even during tense situations. In simple words, the judge reminded the government that protest is not a crime. Numbers played a big role in this decision. Court documents showed that in one Minnesota protest, more than 200 people were detained in a single night, but fewer than 20 were charged with actual crimes. That means over 90% were released without charges. The judge said this raised serious questions about fairness and legality. The ruling also affects how long people can be held. Federal agents can no longer detain protesters for long periods without formal charges. This protects people from being held just to scare or silence them. So why is this big news for U.S. people? Because it directly affects civil rights. If you protest, attend a rally, or even stand nearby, this ruling protects you. It sets limits on government power and reminds authorities that they must follow the law, not emotions or pressure. This decision also sends a message nationwide. Even though the case focused on Minnesota, legal experts say other states will now follow this standard. Federal agencies across the country are expected to update their rules. That means this one decision could affect millions of people. There is also a political angle. The Trump administration defended federal actions, saying they were necessary to maintain order, but the court made it clear that order cannot come at the cost of constitutional rights. This creates tension between the executive branch and the judiciary, something the US has seen many times in history. Public reaction has been strong. Civil rights groups praised the ruling and called it a victory for democracy. Some law enforcement groups criticized it, saying it could make their jobs harder. Social media exploded with debates, with hashtags related to protest rights trending within hours. Looking ahead, this ruling could shape future elections, policies, and public trust. When people feel protected, they are more likely to speak up. When they feel threatened, democracy weakens. This case reminds everyone that courts still play a powerful role in balancing government power. In simple terms, this news is about who controls the streets, the voices, and the rights of the people. It is about drawing a clear line between safety and freedom. And in January 2026, that line was redrawn by a judge, not a politician. That is why this news matters, not just today, but for the future of public freedom in the United States.